So the new Gumball show released like a day or so as of the writing of the script, and I have been waiting for it for literally 4 years now. Jesus Christ. I remember watching the final episode of this show back in 2019 and just being like, oh, what's gonna happen? But then nothing happened. But now it's here, so we can forget about that. There's a new season spin-off thingy that has dropped a batch of 20 out of 40 episodes, all at once, for your enjoyment. We don't know when the other half is gonna drop, so I decided to talk about it now instead of wait for the full thing to release, which could take a couple months to be honest. And I think 20 episodes, literally 3 hours of content, is enough for me to give you my first impression and thoughts. Anyway, Gumball is literally my favorite cartoon to come out of the 2010s. I love stuff like the Loud House, Adventure Time, Steven Universe, and the regular show is a close second favorite, but Gumball always resonated with me so much. It's just timeless, man. It has some of the most entertaining characters and jokes that are just comedically genius, and also incorporates meta humor in a way that won't date itself. You know, instead of movies using like 5-year-old memes now. The animation was also something that was universally praised, featuring many elements of 3D and 2D animation, live action, stop motion, and more. It was generally the thing that made its pilot stand out in the first place. I was so afraid they weren't gonna have the same energy and charisma that made the first 2 seasons so good, but I'm happy to say that that is not the case. This is Gumball to a T. It has the humor, the style, the characters, the animation, everything. It's wonderfully weird. Haha, get it? It's basically like Gumball never left, at least at first glance, but I do have some gripes here and there I have to mention. First, the animation has improved so much. You can tell the budget given was much bigger, and a lot of the time it's a plus, but I do feel like the characters specifically are a bit too expressive in a way. Like the faces specifically are just too exaggerated in my opinion. If you watch the previous seasons you get what I mean. Writing does feature the usual really good humor Gumball is known for. A lot of the jokes rely on topical news, as in stuff that's happening like right now. Yes, a lot of Gumball does rely on real life references, but a lot of that stuff is something that's relatable to everyone and everyone will get, both adults and kids, or is something that's somewhat old enough that when you see it you can be like, oh, remember how stupid that was? Like that parody Justin Bieber song Gumball sang at one time. But so many of the jokes in this new version are just like, haha, Elon Musk and expensive food prices, am I right guys? Like it isn't timeless when it's talking about stuff that very well could not be relevant in the future. I hope, at least. Gumball has always talked about stuff like that, but never was it so blunt that it potentially wouldn't be understood by people in like 20 years. Of course, comedy doesn't need to be timeless, but I feel like when everything beforehand was, not only are the jokes here a big step back, but just feel off, like in general. The next thing I have to mention is that Gumball, Darwin, and Anais have all been recast, which completely makes sense. People go through puberty and all that, but what I really don't like is Gumball's new voice actor. Darwin and Anais are barely noticeable, while Aokio Tieni, sorry if I butchered that, really doesn't fit the iconic blue cat, at least in my opinion. Maybe I'm just used to Nick and Jacob's voices too much, I don't know. Most of the new episodes are alright. I don't think any episode particularly stands out, but there is not an episode that's really bad, so they're clearly doing something right. They're all very Gumball. You aren't gonna be substantially disappointed by any of them, at least in my opinion. Really hope they talk about the Void or Banana Joe's mother in the other episodes they're gonna release soon, because we've been left on a cliffhanger for 6 years. 6 goddamn years. Anyway, could have been better, but it's still pretty good. I'll give it like a 6.5 out of 10.